All right, so we have Marcella Smith today in nomination for the Best Screenplay of the Year for the script Berwick Tower. Congratulations, Marcella.
Thank you so much. I am literally speechless. It's been a long road, but I truly, truly appreciate all of the judges for reading the work. And, I can only imagine after receiving this recognition, it would be lovely to hear what the room conversation was like, where the judges were discussing nominees, potential winners. That would have been a fly on the wall experience. But I'm very, very appreciative of this. Thank you.
Yes, sure, we can send you an update what has been said about the script for sure. So we have a few questions for you. What made you go into films and script writing?
It's the creative arts has been a long childhood passion of mine. Unfortunately, coming from a Caribbean background in the 70s and 80s, it's not something you are encouraged to do. You're more encouraged to have like a proper profession, doctor, lawyer, engineer. I became a social worker, and I realized pretty soon into my social work career that I started to feel like the system restrained how much you could support the children. Very much through my degree, you were encouraged to be the creative social worker and try to pull many hats out of the bag, but you're also restrained by a very overrun, overworked, underfunded system. And I started to feel like I was part of the problem because of the systems in place. And, I began looking at myself in the last year when I decided to leave, which was just before the COVID outbreak, that I think it's time that I start to do what I love because I wasn't loving social work, um, not how I had envisioned the type of social worker that I wanted to be. So I began writing again um, towards the end of 2019 into 2020. And the lockdown experience gave me the opportunity to pause, reflect, and really dive into my love for writing. And I began writing poetry again, and I started to be more public with my writing, attending poetry events and spoken word events. And then I fell in love with the idea of telling a story that I know no one else could tell. And I feel like every writer feels like that. Like this particular genre, stemming to my social work, my personal experiences, the geographical location of where I live in Peckham, South London. Um, I've seen a lot, witnessed a lot, experienced a lot. And in writing Berwick Tower, I tried to capture those experiences. By the end of, what was it, 2023, I believe, I felt like I was onto something. I was getting feedback from family, friends, from short snippets that I'd share with them or conversations that I'd have with them. And that motivated me more. That, some of the comments I received was, especially from my children, was like, Mum, there's so many cliffhangers. How do you have so many cliffhanger moments? And it made me start to feel like I've got something special. So I just literally engrossed myself in everything screenwriting. I've read hundreds of scripts of all different genres, um, and not just reading the scripts to understand the formatting, but understanding the beat changes, the juxtaposes in between the protagonist and the antagonist, and I've started to fall in love with creating my own little world.
Mhm.
And since then, I've just gone full force and, you know, really taken a leap of faith and put my first baby out there into festivals. And so far, she's doing really, really well. Really, really well.
So this is your first script.
This is my first public
Oh,
script. So I have others that I've never put out in the public realm
okay.
because it's been about 5 years of solid writing now. And Berwick Tower was the first one that I said, I'm going to pluck up the courage. I'm going to do this. I'm going to submit Berwick Tower. And I'm so happy I did because it's been an amazing learning experience. It's been an amazing networking experience. Um, I've realized that the creative industry can be kind.
Mhm.
I know this industry is quite tough. And yeah, I'm enjoying every moment of it. And I'm just so happy that I can finally say, in my many years of being on this planet, um, I love what I do. I've never been able to say that before.
That's great. So the main feedback that I can give you that the me and the judges found about the story is that essentially you want to open our eyes about some problems in society, about, as you said, the child protection and like inspired by your work as a social worker. So it's super interesting because we need to know about those things. No, it shouldn't be hidden or we need to make sure that people know about that. So that's what we found as well. Super interesting with your story. So congratulations again for it. It's we are looking for stories that have like powerful messages in our festival. So yours have has one. So congrats for it. So what about the messages? Like you mentioned, what you want to make in your career as a scriptwriter. But do you have like specific messages that you want to transmit?
I do. I mean, there is so much adverse childhood experience that has gone unspoken about in a lot of African and Caribbean communities. And we don't often we don't often have true stories reflecting the resilience of a black woman. And that was one of the underlying things in writing Berwick Tower. As you can see with Bigger, aka Fraser, aka Sean, that is one man. And throughout his life, he has managed to change the narrative for three women, and they've all been affected by this one person. And that's something that we don't often see on TV. We also don't often see in situations where they're depicting domestic violence, the women overcoming. And I think that's another important message. And then the other side of it as well is what women face when they're having those experiences. They're faced with housing difficulties, they're faced with challenges from social services,
Mhm.
from education and schooling, feeling fearful not to report to the police, and having this matriarch ideology that no one's going to help me and I can do this on my own. Um, there's too much of that.
Mhm.
And I wanted to bring to light some of the experiences that I've witnessed, some of the experiences that I've had myself, and to show people that there are so many intersectional layers to a woman's experience, and it doesn't just start with that first experience when she's 25 or when she's 30, a lot of the times there has been a level of adverse childhood experiences, which is one of the young lady's stories. She's realizing that Bigger Fraser, Sean, is actually her brother. And that's where it all started. So I'm very passionate about telling social stories. I'm very passionate about keeping them as raw to the detail as possible because often they depict social work in a very flimsy way, I would say. So, for example, they would depict a social worker just coming in and taking a child and not showing the full process of how a child removal is done. And that breeds a lot of fear into viewers. And then when you add that to the cultural aspect of how African and Caribbeans have had to navigate social services, it's another layer of, I'd say, a macroaggression that can cause a woman to retreat
Mm-hmm.
and not seek help in her community around her. I also want to raise awareness to the blame narrative. A lot of the times, women are blamed
Mm-hmm.
without the context. We see that a lot in mainstream media and news. So I want to challenge those aspects. And I also want to cause a reaction for a conversation to be started with the services that surround these women.
And do you have a website? Where can we follow you?
I don't have a website at the moment, but you can follow me on Instagram. My handle is at Marcella underscore pens with an S on the end. Um, yeah,
So you're
I'm not,
posting updates about your festivals and everything about
that's
the script. Okay,
that's
great.
right. And my awards that I've won, I'll be posting some of those shortly. I've received a few trophies, so I'm looking forward to when those arrive. And I'm looking forward to sharing this interview with my family because they've been my biggest cheerleaders, my 4 children and my 2 grandchildren. They're like my biggest cheerleaders in this. And if it wasn't for their belief in me as their mum to just go out there in the world and just say, I'm going to do this, I don't think I would have taken that leap. So definitely, I have to thank my children and my grandchildren.
Oh, nice. Yes, it's good that you have such a supportive family as well. So congrats to them as well. So I'll put for sure I will send you the interview today, and you can share it with the world. So I'll
Thank you
wish you
so much.
you're welcome. You're most welcome. So I wish you good luck for the prizes, and we'll keep you updated for the rest.
Thank you so much. And I look forward to entering again with 2 other projects that I've been working on that should be winging their way to festivals mid this year.
Oh, thank you so much. We hope to be able to read the your other scripts for sure.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. My pleasure. Actually, our pleasure. So have a good rest of the day, and we'll talk soon.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.